few hairs on my scalp and that.
Hairs on your neck along with the hairs on your head.
Yeah. Just stand on my shoulders and that.
Yes. So, I'll move a bit closer to it. I reckon that's about a good distance, don't you?
Yeah.
You're like, bro, your bars go like right to max out and that, isn't it? You know, cheers, pal.
The old subwoofer.
I'll get back in the groove and the fucking thingy doesn't wear off again.
What's the battery saying on it now? What have you just put the batteries in? Is it like full? Does it? Can
3
it see?
bars, yeah, it's got 3 bars. That's all it's got, and they're all going. They're all going. Yeah, that's a bit better.
Is it actually on as well?
Yeah, 43 seconds in.
Is it recording?
Yeah, I believe so.
Might as well just leave it and we'll just chat away.
Yeah,
You know?
fully. So, been a
Just
while,
put
hasn't
a
it?
bit of- Yeah, it's been a while.
Feels
yeah.
like ages. Feels
It's been
like
about
so
2
long,
weeks or something.
innit?
We did a little one on an app, didn't we? But kept
Yeah.
cutting out and
Didn't fucking work, did it?
nah, shite.
We're not real tech savvy.
We don't want to be either.
In a survival situation, we'd be alright.
Yeah.
Like living in the wild and that.
There's your guy there, look, Rabbi
Yeah.
Yosef Ben Porat.
Definitely. Yad Vashem. I like him.
What do you think then? Do you know, like, when you die? What do you think happens?
I think basically this is like, because I look at all the different theologies and ways and spiritualities and what do you call it, afterlife, sort of beliefs in the afterlife. I would say, I'm not 100% certain, but I have a strong sense that you would see your ancestors when you die. That could be in terms of being like your grandmother or somebody from 1,000 years ago, and I think that through your life, your ancestors are sort of not watching, like spying on you, but watching over you, sort of thing, and they'd either be proud or not so proud, like ashamed of you, do you know what I mean, or by how you conduct yourself. Not so much sad for you or happy for you by what you're going, what situations are coming to you, but just how you react to the situations thrown at you.
Yeah.
And how you create situations to benefit whatever. They'd be either proud of you or you've let them down, sort of thing. So I would say that you see your ancestors, but now I don't think it'd be in terms of like a big village that we all lived in. I don't know.
It'd be nice though, wouldn't it?
I think it'd be like a conscious thing, like yeah, it'd be nice, like a big massive village and that.
Yeah.
Like Butlins and that. Just
Yeah.
full of your ancestors. But no, I think you'd see.
Val Butlins.
You might not even be in like a physical form, but you might like say no that you're with them. Do you know what I mean? In a weird way that's abstract and we couldn't possibly imagine as humans that are in this life. But I think there won't be any suffering and death, in the afterlife. It'll be peaceful, nice. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I don't know how people can not think like that. Do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know when you look at history and that every culture has got some sort of, even reincarnation is sort of that, because the soul never dies. That's what I believe. The soul is immortal. Do you know what I mean? And so the soul lives on through in different forms and things. So your mortal body might crumble and fade. Do you know what I mean? But
crumbling now.
Yeah, innit? Fading now. But yeah, I think your soul's immortal. Loads of faith systems believe it.
You've read a few books, haven't you?
Yeah.
Holy books.
I read the Bible a bit. I know a bit of the Quran and that. Especially like I'm really interested in like the prophecies and that, and there's prophecies in this.
What book to you sort of like makes more sense to you?
Well, on their own, none of them would make sense. But when you look at them all together and you draw you draw them together, and you think with the knowledge of having looked at this book, I've not read any back to back, but you look at bits of this book and it matches with bits of that book, and then so like I don't know, and then say Christianity and the Bible has been altered and chopped and changed, and it's famous for it. Like whoever's been in charge has either translated it favourably to them, or like absolutely left big bits of it out, like Emperor Constantine. And so then, if you go to like the Quran, and it says things that match up with the Bible, and then the Bible doesn't have something about Jesus say that the Quran's got in it, then you think, in the same way that the Bible's famous for being chopped and changed and bits took out of it, the Quran's famous for basically you're not allowed to translate it into another language. Even English language ones have the original sort of, what they say is the original, Arabic script.
Yeah.
And so the Quran's famous for like staying the same, and it might not stay exactly the same, but I think because of that commitment to having it the same.
Does it Quran mention Jesus?
Loads.
Does it?
Yeah, it mentions Jesus like 20 odd times, I think.
And who's Jesus in the Quran?
Jesus is Jesus, right? But he's not the Son of God, although Allah is supposed to have created him to God. Do you know what I mean? But he's an agent of God. But they don't believe he died on a cross and things like this, and they don't believe he ascended to heaven. I'm not sure about that bit, but there's bits in the Quran that mention Jesus that I've never heard of, from Christianity or Catholicism, and it's quite interesting. Like say, like they believe Jesus is divine, definitely, and a prophet. They believe he did things like turn like a piece of mud into a bed, so he like created life out of mud. Do you know, like, and so they believe then he's like definitely. He's like up there, do you know what I mean? In this otherworldly sort of spiritual entity. What
about the Bible? Does that mention Muhammad?
No, well, Muhammad come, I think, about 700 years after. Well, no, sorry, 600. So Muhammad, I think it was 580 Muhammad was born.
Yeah.
And something like that. And yeah. So then, they do believe in Jesus. They revere Jesus as a prophet, and Mary as a prophet, and all these people from the Bible, do you know what I mean? Like the Mosque of Maria Sophia, the Church of Maria Sophia became the Hagia Sophia Mosque when they converted it to Islam. They made it into the Hagia Sophia, didn't they? But it's real mad, like, they've got these in I think this is hadiths, so like the prophets of the prophet that he actually made up, that he was meant to been shown by God, Allah, was stuff to do with like the end of the world prophecies are real interesting. So there's a man called the Antichrist is a big part of it. Do you know? And say by like the Antichrist, they don't mean some weird Raji, do you know, like Horn fella, do you know, with loads of dildos or whatever. They mean anything that's against Christ. So people fighting against Christ would be Antichrist. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Like,
oh yeah.
I'm anti this or anti that. So that's Antichrist. So then they believe Shaitan, Satan, the devil, is in you and it affects you, but that's the same in sort of Catholicism. Do you know what I mean? It's real similar. But at the end, going towards the end of the world, there's a bloke called the Mahdi, and he is, I think, the grandson, or some people believe he's the grandson of Muhammad, the prophet. And the Mahdi is meant to join forces with Jesus to fight Dajjal, which is devil, do you know, Dajjal. It's like that's Satan, do you know, Shaitan, and it's like at the end of the world, do you know, so like the Muslims and Christians are supposed to unite to
is that what it says in the book?
The devil. Yeah, pretty much. But
that sounds like we're heading for that point now.
Well, yeah,
what's going on?
But I think that's why people agitate a lot against Muslims, you know what I mean? Because I think the people in the press and that own the press are probably actually don't like Muslims themselves. For a lot of reasons. And
a lot of hatred towards them, isn't they?
Yeah, I think...
I quite like the ways, me.
Yeah, definitely. It's real close to Catholicism. Do you know, you think about atheism, don't you, and think how degenerate it is in the society now.
Yeah.
It's bad, isn't it? All these rainbow sort of agenda pushed on your kids, you know, and at school and that, do you know what I mean? It's not right, is it? So then I could see why then, as a Muslim, people wouldn't like... Oh, I'm not a Muslim, but Muslims wouldn't like sort of them sort of things. And I think I would say that if there was in their own tight community, they would just probably assume we was all down for it. which isn't really the case. Do you know what I mean? And that's probably why a lot of resentment comes. But then you get these things like this grooming scandal hasn't been sorted out, and it's like if they just snip that in the bud, I think they're probably drawn it out for a couple of reasons. I think it's mainly Pakistani men, and it's like Pakistan's next to Afghanistan, and there's a lot of fucking money to be had from high ups getting people to bring them, you know, big amounts of heroin. Do you know what I mean?
It's just a small faction of.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it is.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a small faction of Islam,
But they blow
they're
it up
represented in England. There's a lot of them in England.
Yeah.
But I think it's if you let something go on as well, then it's sort of your fault for letting it go on. But it's like I don't know how to say it without sounding like a dickhead, but I don't care.
But what do you mean? What do you mean if you let it go on?
The police.
Oh, right,
the
yeah,
social
yeah.
services. Do you know what I mean?
I thought you meant like the elders in the Islamic community or something like that.
But I do think, I don't know, sounds bad, I think it is like mainly like a Pakistani thing, an Indian sort of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, although you hear about
But
stuff,
that's just a particular group
yeah,
of
it's
people.
Deobandi Islam.
who's
Deobandi Islam is like, it started in India in Deoband, and it was all against the British Empire. Do you know, in the times of the British Empire,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Raj. So it's before Pakistan and India split,
Mm.
there was Deoband, and that is like the militant sort of, not militant like AK-47s, but they're dead against sort of like Britain and the British Empire. It's like nationalist, they're like ultra-nationalist sort of things, which nationalism I can sort of like see eye to eye with that myself, you know. But yeah, so like that form of Catholicism, that form of Islam's a bit, I don't know, I can only liken it to like what the Spanish would be with the Reconquista. Do you know, like when the Moors had Spain for about 700 years.
Mm.
And then they took it back. Do you know what I mean? It's like militant Catholics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Took the land back, sort of thing. And it's similar to that. But then they've brought the faith with them. Do you know what I mean? And the caste system's mad. Do you know, in India?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the same in Pakistan, but in India it's mad. Like whereby they would it's like quite commonplace for like people to get boys from a lower caste to get abused by men from either just men or men from high castes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they don't see them as like worthy sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Isn't it outrageous?
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad. Imran Khan, like the president of Pakistan, says they've got a big massive problem with it, and it's thingy. He said,
Why is that such a big problem in the world? It's everywhere, isn't it?
I think.
It's everywhere though.
Yeah, it's to do with that. Well, if you ask like a Catholic or you ask a Muslim, like a devout one, like say,
why are that many people
say
got that in the brain
they'd be
though?
like shaitan. I think part of it is they've had it done to them, a lot of them, and that twists their head.
But that's.
And then, but it's obviously start somewhere. So if you've got this nonce, I think it's meant to be like 1 in 100 people naturally who are nonce. That's what they reckon.
1 in 100 people.
1 in 100. That's quite a lot, isn't it? If you think
So
about
you'll know a few.
it. Oh yeah, fucking hell. I reckon.
Wow.
So they reckon 1 in 100's a nonce. So I've got feelings that way. Whether they're an active nonce is another thing. But
Yeah, you wonder how many people think about it all the time but don't
yeah.
actually fucking do out because of fear of reprisals or whatever.
I think you hear about them, but I think a lot of the time that you hear about them, it's pushed by people that want to normalise it as being normal. But I would feel sorry for them, I think. But you'd like to think, I don't know, if it was me, I'd like to think I'd just do myself in. Do you know, rather than be alive. I was like, start fancying kids and that. Do you know what I mean? Fuck that. I don't want to be alive no more because, well, it's just not life, innit? But if one of them 1 in 100 attacks 20 bairns, and all them 20 bairns attack 2 kids when they're an adult each, it sort of like spreads a bit like that. And then when you've got a culture
it's
like
a disease, isn't it?
yeah, you've got a culture of young boys like pederasty is real old. It's what they call pederasty, like a companionship sort of paedophilia. Like the Greeks did it. Everyone did it. Do you know what I mean? The Romans did it, especially with the slaves. The Romans did it. If you was a slave in Roman times, you was basically just a sex toy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You could just do what they wanted, but they couldn't do it to another citizen. But they could do it to the slaves.
Yeah, I've seen a series,
Yeah,
Spartacus. It goes through that a
Ruthless,
little
innit?
bit.
Yeah. There was probably dirty cunts, the Romans, but that's another story, innit? But so like, yeah, where was we? It was on about. Yeah, so that's give Muslims a bad name, but who are the people that sort of like don't prosecute them properly? Who are the people that run the police? And there's all the people with the social services. You hear about a few good ones, Like, say the Labour Party, for example. Sarah Champion was the Rotherham MP. She was a lovely lady, but she was kicked off the Labour front bench. Do you know, like, lost a job in the government, or no, in the opposition. Sorry. Or it might have been in Gordon Brown's Labour. It might have been actually when fuck knows. But she lost a job on the front bench for Labour because she spoke out about it. Do you know what I mean? And that just says a lot.
Just says it a lot,
Says
doesn't
a
it?
lot about where like Labour Party's priorities are. Do you know? I think. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I reckon it's embarrassing as a person that's grown up like a Catholic sort of background, that priests nonce children in the Catholic Church. It's really embarrassing. I don't know any.
Seems to me like it was self for that.
I was an altar boy for a bit. I actually was an altar boy. I don't know why. My mum wasn't
bending the knee.
My mum wasn't like pushing it on me. I just wanted to do it. Do you know what I mean? I was like geek, but it's because I was always drawn to that sort of eternity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But people, when they found out I've been an altar boy, they'd be like, "Oh fucking hell, do you get nonce?" Do you know what I mean?
But that's how normalised it is, isn't it?
That's
which is sad.
How synonymous it is with nonces. If Catholic priests is like quite fucking synonymous with it. And it's like, well, yeah, it's like fucking they should be put a stop to, shouldn't they?
I'd like to put them down myself personally, do you know?
Yeah.
My job, do you
just
know?
liquidate them, I think.
Sick of chefing now.
Just liquidate them, put them in a fucking mincer. Just get rid of them as fast as you can. It's weird, I think.
Like
people like want to make... What?
Pound them like yam.
Yeah. Fucking people like, make them suffer and all this, put them in prison. It's worse to go in prison for a life. I don't give two fucks about persecuting paedophiles all my life. I don't want to spend my life like eating nonsense. I just someone who's wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, you better off just hanging them, aren't you?
Yeah, proper kill them. Just, dot them in the head. Just fucking get a cattle stun gun, bang. Go on off the
What do you think to that though? Why do you think... I mean, it's obvious to me. But why do you think the leniency towards them? Like, what's that all about?
Atheism. I think it all comes from atheism, and that goes hand in hand with liberalism. And then it's like over emotion, because we've got a comfy life now. People are overly emotional when they think about other people and that, and it's like atheistic in it. Because any religion,
this has all been pushed, hasn't it, for
anything
decades?
about religion, they tell you to like what they do. Do you know? I'll give this to the people in Pakistan. They like stone people. Do you know? If they find out, they definitely do fucking bang at it. Like say like the community.
Concrete.
Bury them up to the waist in sand and stone to death, which I think is fucking. If you're gonna start raping kids and that, you sort of like deserve it. You know what I mean? Not putting up with a PlayStation.
Do you know it is wild? I don't know if you know much about it, but I think you do because you watch a lot of that podcast guy who talks about it. But
David Pidcock.
Do you know about like the family courts and judges having like having shares in like fucking kids' homes and stuff like that? You heard much about stuff like that?
I hadn't heard that was that. Sorry, that one David Pidcock, but I've heard bits and bobs when I was looking into like that Jimmy Savile thing.
Yeah.
And that's real mad. I was going to say,
like family courts and stuff like that?
Yeah, well the thing is they've got like, as soon as you have people earning money off working near children, like you've got to sort of really fucking scrutinise them, because it's like, well, is he doing it because he really cares for the children, or is he doing it because it's good money? And then there's like, is he doing it because it's good money, or is he doing it because he's a fucking absolute nonce? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, I would be suspicious, not every bloke, but I'd be suspicious of blokes that want to work with other people's kids and things like this, and have a say. Like, I think, like it's feminine in it, like the motherly thing, and it's like quite beautiful. But I'll be suspicious. Men are like more predatory sexual, behaviours.
Oh yeah.
Men are
slim
predators.
testosterone in the
Yeah,
mix.
a lot of, do you know what I mean? A lot of blokes are predators, but so then, why you got the massive chance of them being, I don't know, it's just weird, isn't it? Either they're doing it for the money or they're doing it to be close to the kids, like they, most of them. So they all, like say like myself, you can't guarantee that people who have man in your position on that. Do you know what I mean? Most men.
There's too many.
Yeah, exactly. 1 in 100 is too much, isn't it? 1 in 100 is far too much. Like women, I don't know what they'll be, but it'll be less than 1 in 100.
There's 9 billion people on the planet. You're bound to have a few fried eggs, aren't you? You know.
Definitely. But yeah, it's fucked. Do you know, like people do wear themselves into these positions where they're around kids, And
It's always these weirdos that don't have any criminal records and all that.
yeah,
And
of course.
they're real big on CIB checks and all that. You know me, I've got a few criminal offences, not major. And like, I won't be able to get any jobs that are like working with any type of kids, old people.
Mum
You
and
know,
Dad
like
tried
that.
to adopt a kid before a few years ago, and it was so much of a fuck about, you know, getting CIB. You had to pay for it all. Do you know what I mean? I was going through it, and then by the end of it, it wasn't even the end of it. They thought, fuck this, they're just making it so much for us to do it. And it was sad.
How do you get these weird cranks in charge of kids and then?
That's what I mean. It's like, I think that must have been because they were just sort of starting to work that out. I don't know, because there was too many people around kids that was unaccounted for. Do you know, like children's homes in the 70s and that? I wouldn't like to live there. I wouldn't like to be anything like that. Or like bail hostels or
Dark times.
hostels for youths. Do you know what I mean? Where they're going on a night, and then you hear about them getting pimped out and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just horrible. And it's like, my biggest fear would be the BAME going into one of them hostels or like, do you know, care. That'd be a massive fear of mine. Do you know what I mean? Cause just because I know like fucking loads of stories, like from people that I don't think they're lying. Do you know what I mean? So you wouldn't want to make up these big nuns, would you? Do you know? But it's fucking brutal. But I think people thought they could just get away with whatever. Do you know, these people are like saying, "Oh, the reason why there's loads of nonsense at the top of like the elite sort of class is because you've got."
I think there's a culture on it. It's been a
is,
culture.
but it's like if you've got 1 in 100 people that are nonsense, then do you know in psychopaths? A lot of them, a high amount of them are nonsense. Do you know, it's like part of it.
We'll do what I want type
Don't
of
get
shit.
two fucks and they just want gratification. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of them, it's easier to fucking grab a kid than it is do you know what I mean, a bloke or a woman. So then you get like a lot of these psychopaths that are nonsense. But then psychopaths by nature, also by nature of being psychopaths are, do you know, they're more driven. They're driven, ruthlessly driven, and they'll go to lengths to get what they want. So if they want to be right high up in the fucking whatever party, whether it's Lib Dems, Labour, Conservative, Democrats or Republicans, whatever, any of these like big parties and that, they're all rife with it. Do you know what I mean? And the Lords and that, because a lot of them are psychopaths.
Yeah, that's the way I kind of look at. Do you know like what's going on at the minute? Bit of a touchy subject, but do you know at the minute with all this COVID-19 business and hospitals apparently are overrun and this and that, and then you turn up, it's quiet, and I kind of look at these sort of like nurses and stuff that are like, don't get me wrong, you know, a lot of people just trying to earn the bread, you know, feed the family and whatnot, but do you know, like turning a blind eye to me because you're earning your breads. I mean, I know I'm no one to talk. You know me, I'm a bit ruthless in the sense of I don't care. You know, I'll go on the street. You know, but I think that's a little bit psychotic. You know, just turning a blind eye to like
to other people.
If you know naughty stuff's going on, do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, going along with it. It's fear in it. That it's fear, and I don't turning a blind eye. There's some people who'll be in on it, but I don't think they're like low down nurses, are they? But like they're sort of like, I should imagine they're sort of like suffering cognitive dissonance. A lot of them, do you know?
100%, yeah.
Because they're like they don't know whether they're coming or going, and they're seeing this shit, but they don't want to know if they go out with it, they're gonna get sacked and all this shit, and then ostracised, and they'll be in the papers being this cunt and all that cunt, and do you know what I mean? So yeah, like I've heard second-hand stories, so I don't know how believable they are, like from people at, do you know, at Hull Royal Infirmary, about things that are like shady goings on. Do you know?
Go on then. What have you heard? I've got 2 personal experiences what I can share with you, but you what have you heard?
Say like fabricated numbers and things like this.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
Body bags ready, but they're empty. Do you know what I mean? In like a big room.
Have you heard that from All Royal?
Not from Hull Royal. I've heard it like second or third. I know that's why I can't say I know if it's like true.
Alright.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's like someone knows someone that knows someone. Do you know what I mean?
Other type of people that are seeing ghosts as well. Not that I'm saying ghosts aren't real.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Do you know what I mean? Either way, it's just like you can't really believe. Like fucking, it's like Chinese whispers.
Well, I've been to hospital twice in the past 6 weeks. Yeah.
Mm.
Sort of like early hours of the morning one time,
Yeah.
tea time onwards another time, and I don't turn up and think not busy here like a plant. Do you know what I mean? I ain't going on a COVID ward or
Yeah,
whatever. Do you know? But the general atmosphere in the hospital, and I was there a few hours each time, maybe both times, maybe 7-8 hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And both times there was no emergency. You know, I was in A&E side. There was no like, I didn't hear no ambulances rushing in, and
Yeah, 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 of course.
there was the car park was empty. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
but this was just after the Hull was in a meltdown
Always
type of
like
thing.
the worst place in the country.
But I just judge it off.
I went into it. Yes, got a big leak. Apparently, I banged my eye at work, and then
Was this recently?
This was like while this was going on, say like before Christmas. Though.
Oh yeah, how did that
I
go?
went to it. I've got a lesion on my eyeball at work. Do you know what I mean? And then I couldn't see. Do you know what I mean? So I had to have the day off, and I went to hospital, and it was empty. It was pretty dead. There was enforcing all these like rules and that. Do you know what I mean? And you go by it, don't you? Because you're conscientious. But I thought it was a bit canny. Do you know how dead it was? Do you know when you're hearing that it's all like this? And then there was that lady one there who filmed. I think where was it? Down south somewhere. She went into an hospital, and I mentioned it to my mum and dad. And to be fair, they said like where. There was like, where do you think the COVID ward would be, say, in Unloyal?
I don't think it'll be anywhere near A&E, mate.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they said to me, because I was like, look at this, it's fucking empty.
Don't think it'll be anywhere.
They're making out though, as if it's like they're
making out like the people getting rushed in.
Yeah, like 28 days later.
That was my point about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was there hours and no one was rushed in.
Fully, 100%.
I thought of their sirens, you know. I thought the car park would be fullish, you know. It was like tumbleweeds, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But they pointed out to me that say like the hospital could be running at capacity, but because it was all concentrated in one area.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it just definitely.
What were you gonna say though?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know.
100%. That's what I was saying to them. I didn't give in and tell them that I thought it was right.
Yeah.
But yeah. You sort of the mind boggles, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because you hear that everything's like people are dying on the wards, and do you know what I mean? I don't think I've heard that, but they make out like they sensationalise it to the point where you would imagine dead bodies to be all over the hospital.
Here's another one for you. This is a, you know me, I overthink a lot of stuff. You know. This is what I was thinking, right? People are catching this in a lot of hot countries at the minute, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's not seasonal, really. Obviously, it might be worse when it's winter, you know, because people catch stuff anyway, don't they? But there's people in hot countries catching it. It vanished last year in July for 3-4 months, didn't it?
I don't know if it vanished or
not vanished, but I mean it pretty much did.
They took the lockdown off, didn't they? They weren't on full lockdown.
No, the full country was out of lockdown, but you had to social distance, but.
There was like a lull in the figures, wasn't there? Do you know what I mean? These figures.
But dramatic. It was a dramatic lull.
Yeah.
You know, it was like.
Oh, you've done well social distancing. It's gone away for a bit. I think that's just like a big carrot to dangle me. Do you know them numbers going down and that?
They'll do it again this year. As soon as summer comes.
They'll do it for about 5 years at least, man, until everyone's got some sort of fucking Bill Gates vaccine. But it's fucking. I don't know, mate. Do you know, like, say you get this vaccine, don't you?
Yeah.
And then you still can't go out the house and see people. Do you know what I mean? Even if they've had a vaccine.
Here we go though. Do you know like the vaccine stuff, right? My mum's work, yeah. They're all getting the vaccine at work. It's not mandatory, but they're basically saying
best do it or else.
In the future, you know.
You have to think about your position.
Yeah. You know. And they've all been given these cards, what they've been told to keep hold of. I can't remember last time someone told me they got a vaccine and they got told to keep hold of a card.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It's like, what's the card for? Do you know?
Yeah. So then, does your mum got a card then?
She hasn't been vaccinated, but she's getting vaccinated. Yeah.
Is she?
She's having it. Yeah. Basically, my mum's very. She's seen a few of them have it, and she's like, "Oh, it's fine."
She's had his nails, your mum.
You know, so she'll
be alright.
She's just gonna let him pump her with the juice. You know.
Do you know me? I don't know. Like you say, think a lot. I don't know whether these other viruses, say like I sound like an idiot, but these other things that they're saying is from Brazil or South Africa or Israel or, do you know what I mean? These new strains and that. I don't know whether, say now, in my mind I think, what if they are, say now this COVID-19 is actually what they say it is, and it is COVID-19, for example, like, hypothetically, then maybe this vaccine will make you more susceptible to these other strains. Do you know what I mean? That's what I've been thinking the last few days. I'm thinking these other new strains that are maybe like super COVID-19, like COVID-19 and that. What if you get the vaccine and that just makes you more susceptible to the actual COVID or this new thing? But there's so many levels of it, like where it's so like bullshit, and it's like all you have to do is stop watching the BBC and Sky, and you sort of see that there's loads wrong with this. You wouldn't anything else in life. You wouldn't like go along with it if there was so much fucking contradicting shit. Fear is the fucking. It's. Do you know? Say like.
I think it's mad just at this point that like so many people aren't clicking. And do you know what they do? Listen, do you know what they do? Every so often, when you get a few people questioning it, they throw a little propaganda video out there.
Yeah.
Might be an old person in hospital, fucking breathing in a fucking on a ventilator. But they only do this once every 2 or 3 months. Well, it's emotion and like, oh look what's happening there. You know?
If you're papping, these people are like papping themselves. The majority of people, I think, because they're atheists, like we're saying, they don't believe in the afterlife, and they're fucking at home shitting bricks, and they're showing an example of someone actually getting what they've suspected, because a lot of people believe in it, don't they? The media and stuff. Do you know, regardless of the history of the media, they still believe in it. They think that governments have got the best interests at heart and stuff like this, and it's not the case. So then they've all bought into all this shit, and it's in like psychological manipulation and that fear and the threat of pain is a miles bigger motivator than praise and, do you know what I mean, a treat. So then obviously then they're going to use fear because it works miles better on individual and group level, do you know, to manipulate people. So these people just they're afraid, they're terrified, and then they get this attitude whereby you sort of people who don't believe in it, you need to give your heads a bang because you're like making it worse for the rest of us. And I completely think the other way around, like whereby these people that are going along with it, all these things are just like these different strains, and do you know that, like you were saying, last year the numbers went down and all this shit. Just seeing how we react.
I think they've had to push a little bit, you know, like in the sense of, you know, like a lot of people, you got a lot more people questioning it now, so
yeah,
they've had to push it harder a little bit, like, oh, there's a variant out there that's.
Do you know people are censoring stuff, like certificate, what do you call it, PhD doctors and all this.
Yeah.
Do you know, like consultants? Do you know, like these big up people, like high up medical professionals?
Yeah.
They're censored as soon as they go against it, and they say this is not right. Do you know what I mean? They get censored and completely took off things like Facebook and YouTube and all these things. And it's like, well, people are alright with it. They just think they believe that because they believe everyone's sort of like got the best interest at heart because they're naive. Then they'll go along with it because they think, oh, these people are far right and all this shit like they say. Do you know what I mean? And the anti-Semites or like that. And they're all racist and homophobes, and it's like, well, fuck them sort of thing. That's the attitude, and it's like, well, no, listen to the cunts that are saying they're not like nasty people. They've got your best interests at heart. But as soon as you start getting censored, it's like, well, I ain't talking to them. Do you know what I mean?
But I think it's crazy. There just isn't any basic information about how to look after yourself if you got a little bit ill.
And isolated it.
What do you mean?
So now, when you imagine like scientists and biologists and that, and doctors and that, do you know, in the lab conditions where they've got it in a petri dish and they can look at it.
Yeah.
They can't like say this is that. This is what it looks like.
It's a joke, isn't it?
They can't like isolate it from like other similar material. So like, they can't differentiate between that and other types of coronavirus or it's SARS in it basically. That's what SARS virus is, a coronavirus. And like, they can't isolate it, they can't like get it on its own to look at it and go, yeah, that's definitely one of them. So like, how do you get variants of these?
I want to get different variants if
Yeah,
you can't
exactly.
isolate the fucking.
And how do you tell that variant's stronger than the other variant if you can't even fucking say that is that variant? If you don't know what number, say like 10 is 10.
It's like when you winding your veins up in it and trying to mug them off. Didn't I have a
Yeah,
laugh
it
of 'em?
definitely is.
It's
But
like
I think yeah. I think that's the way it's treated. But like you inject a bit of fear into someone, then they're gonna sort of like I say, fear's a real strong motivator in psychological manipulation. Massive motivator, the biggest. Fear of pain or like, especially death, because do you know people now they're atheists, they don't believe in the afterlife. They're like, fucking hell, I've only got one life and that's it. Fucking I want to get this. I might as well stay in the house for till May. It's May now, isn't it?
don't you think it's mad though? Britain in particular has been so sort of submissive, do you know?
I don't think it's been more submissive than some countries. I think a lot of countries. I think the thing is
I think that's down to the comfortability factor, like them
Oh, do you know, it's
giving
all,
it, dishing
only
out the fair law and
comfortable
all that.
countries, definitely. It's comfortable countries, you know, Western countries,
Yeah, yeah.
developed countries,
Yeah.
the thing is, atheist countries.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's a thing in it, like third world countries are more religious. Why's that? It's
Hope, innit? Hope of a better,
yeah, of
a
course.
better future, a better life,
Maybe
you know?
open, they have been corrupted.
Yeah.
They've not been corrupted by like fucking capitalism, materialism, consumerism.
What do you think the reaction would be if they started whipping all the fair law and stuff though? Because I don't think we're soft in a sense. I just think that they know by providing us with these little
Bits and bobs.
welfare, this and that, you
Yeah.
know.
I think it's all there's definitely a plan to get us all on like some sort of universal credit or universal basic income they call it, and people have been calling for it for years, and it's like we said before. I think it was in another little thing we did, one of the other two, but like they want to get us all on some sort of universal basic income, so then they can take it off us all. Do you know what I mean? And then we're shit out, and then what do we do? Because then.
We shed the blood then.
Yeah, fully. But whose blood you shed? Do you know what I mean? Because these people that believe in the virus and they're going to be so afraid. It's like backing a dog into a corner. Say backing a dog into a corner. You don't leave it no exit. It's going to attack you.
Pause that a minute.